like tomato, and I like tomato, potato, patata, tomato, tomato. Oh, let's call the whole
It is peak tomato season, and nothing says summer like delicious, juicy, red, ripe tomatoes. However, knowing which ones to use, well, that can be a bit confusing. Food blogger and our friend Meg Vanderkruik recently shared her tomato tips. Take a look. It is so good to see you again. Of course, we're talking about tomatoes. They're so popular this time of year. In fact, I know many people are growing them in their yards, but there's so many different types. It's hard to kind of figure out which type goes into which dish. So let's talk about what you have for us today, which ones you're using.
Perfect. Yeah, so there's lots of different options. And whether you're growing them at home or you're shopping in the grocery store, it can be a little intimidating. So today I'm going to talk about two major types of tomatoes that you'll see. I'm going to talk about like homegrown heirloom or kind of beefsteak tomatoes.
Yummy.
And we're going to talk about Roma tomatoes. I know that these are one of your favorites, Christine.
Yes.
And so I'm going to show you different ways to use these to really maximize their potential.
Okay, good. All right, let's talk about your first dish. It's pico de gallo. So you're using the Roma tomatoes for that one, right?
Correct. So pico de gallo is one of my favorite dishes to have in the fridge. I actually have it all year long. Roma tomatoes aren't known for being super flavorful. They're actually a tomato that you kind of have to bump up in flavor. So to make pico de gallo, you use Roma tomatoes, jalapeno pepper,
Yummy.
lime, onion, and cilantro. And it's super simple. I have a trick for cutting these. Do you want to see it?
Yes, please, because one of our producers, we were chatting, she says every time she dices them, they turn into mush. And that's what happens to me as well. I mean, I guess maybe they're too ripe. What's the deal?
So different tomatoes require different types of knives. But so you'll take your Roma and you'll want to slice the ends off. You see I've removed the ends here.
Got it.
And then what I do, because Romas are kind of watery anyway, so I slice right down the center. Can you see that?
Yes, beautiful.
Okay. And then I take a really sharp knife. For this, I use a paring knife, like a little, this is called a bird's beak paring knife.
Okay.
And I go right around the inside of the tomato, and I take out this little watery seed sac. What's left is all the meat, none of the juice. Right? So now you can take that, slice it into long little strips, and then dice it into little chunks.
Oh my gosh, beautiful. Look at that.
Yeah, and there's no juice in there other than the lime, so it's not going to get watery or mushy. I'm a texture girl.
Me
this
too.
Works.
I am too. Okay, that's good. And I just bought a new set of knives, but I don't know about that fancy paring one. I might have to pick up an extra one of those. Okay, so
just use a small knife, the smallest knife you have. And really, that's just because the tomatoes are small. You're working with a small surface. A tomato skin is really thin, and the fruit is actually really soft. So you need a super, super sharp, small tip to break through the skin without mushing the inside.
Love it. And how long should that dish last in the fridge? What do you think? A few days?
I mean,
week?
it doesn't last for very long in my house, but I've kept it for up to 4 days. I use it in all sorts of different ways. Sometimes I marinate white beans with it and toss it with like pasta and olive oil for a fast dinner that's not even Tex-Mex. It's just delicious.
Sounds incredible. So does your next recipe, tomato caprese, but what I love is that you're actually adding something else that's in season that I love, peaches.
Yes, caprese is just quintessential summer. So I think that caprese is one of those dishes where you're gonna wanna use tomatoes that are like superstars. So that's where you can use these kind of homegrowns or even stuff like this beautiful heirloom.
Oh, gosh,
I have some black tomatoes growing in my garden. You can use any type of tomato you want for caprese that you want to be like a superstar in your dish.
Now, Meg, I know typically a lot of people use olive oil, but I imagine you could do truffle oil, avocado oil. I was even picking up Kate at camp recently, stopped at the Dillard house and picked up pecan, or however you say it, pecan oil, because it said it was healthier. So what do you recommend? Because they're going to give a slightly different flavors, right?
They are, and I would actually, for this particular dish, because you want the tomatoes and the peaches that we put in there to really stand out, I might go away from the truffle oil that's super intense,
strong,
but that pecan oil sounds incredible. An avocado oil or even just a really good quality olive oil would be beautiful here. I mix it with a little white balsamic vinegar. Like, because that's just super fruity, and it's not, it doesn't have any color to it, so you can just pour it right over the top. right before you serve, and put some super flaky sea salt. Like you want
love that.
big flakes
Chunks,
of salt.
yes.
And let me tell you, I have a secret for these like super, you see that super perfect slice?
Oh my gosh. Meg.
Okay, let me tell you, for an heirloom or anything like this, I have to tell you this. You don't use the knife you think you use. You want to use your bread knife.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so these big slicers, watch this.
And there you go. Get that
And you
nice
go super
thick.
thin.
Or thin, right.
Super thin. I mean, look at that.
Ah, so good.
Bread knife.
I want to take a bite out of it, Meg. Thank you so much. Most importantly now, where can we go to learn more about these great recipes?
All of these recipes and tips are on thismessisours.com or on any social platform at This Mess Is Ours.
I can't wait till you get back in the studio because right now I'd be taking a big bite out of both of those. So thank you.
Bye.